Hey, Steve.
Not true.
Yeah, you muted.
I'm muted. Hey, Steve. Can you give me a sound check back, please?
Testing, testing, one, two, three.
Perfect. It's coming through there. Thanks. Good. When I get up there to talk, will you bring up that
It's all on board book.
huh?
Order. If everybody would stand. Joe, would you like to lead us in the invocation?
Gracious Heavenly Father, as we come before you tonight, Lord, we come with thankful hearts, Lord, for the privilege of being on this board, Lord, of serving the kids in this community. Lord, we ask for your knowledge, for your leadership, Lord, for your wisdom as we make decisions tonight. Lord, we continue to ask you to bless this country, bless this school district, the employees, and most of all the kids. Lord, forgive us when we fail you. In Christ's name I ask. Amen.
Tasha, would you lead us in the pledge?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. I'd like to welcome all our guests here tonight. Thank you for coming. Looks like we do have a quorum. Thank you. On to item number 4, campus recognitions.
Once again, we have our recognitions up here on the screen. So Liz will be pulling that up for us.
Yes, sir.
You've been named Venus High School Student of the Month.
Really?
Really?
But congratulations, man.
Oh my gosh, what the heck? That's, wow, okay.
Okay, all right, so let me see what it says about you, okay?
Yes, sir.
All right, so if it's not true, tell me, I'll change it. Alexis Lara has spent the past year being Venus High School sports' biggest fan. He was nominated Homecoming King this year and voted Prom King at this year's prom. You are the king of Venus High School.
You are.
He shows up at practically every sporting event, supporting our teams, and he was most recently given the Heart of a Champion award at the athletic banquet. We're very happy to end his senior year by naming him as our May Student of the Month. Congratulations.
Thank you. That actually means a lot.
All right. Well, I'll tell you what. You know, you're a lot of fun to be around. You know, and that's, you know, that's what I think is cool. So
Thank you.
this is yours to put on your refrigerator. Give to your mom.
Yes, sir.
Hank can do whatever.
Don't just throw it in the back of your car.
Yes, sir.
You've been named Venus High School Student of the Month.
Really?
See, Jenny, I told you had visitors coming. Hop up.
¿Y quieres un estudiante?
All right, see, you're not in trouble.
This is Jenny.
Have you met Mr. Hopper?
Hi, Jenny.
Okay,
Good
all
to
right,
see you.
Jonas.
Jenny, it's my honor to present to you this plaque for being Venus Middle School Student of the Month. This is Jenny Wynn. So congratulations.
All right, and Jenny, I want you to know why you were selected. So your teachers nominated you, and they talked about how responsible you are, how you always have a smile on your face, you're always respectful, and their words, you are a bulldog. Congratulations.
Model student.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Congratulations. All right, now we got a picture time. See, Jenny, I told you.
How about that? That is so cool, huh? Well, there is that. So let me
Here's
see
your
what
sign. So we're gonna take your picture.
this. Yeah. So let me see what this says. It says, Brittany is a very hard worker in class, and she cares about showing growth in her education. We have daily conversations about how her Lexia is and how she can get it done all in a week. But more importantly, she cares about the school environment. She is a student who you can always rely on. She makes good choices and helps others remember to make good choices too. You can always count on Brittany to tell the truth. That's important. That means you're trustworthy. Even if the truth were to make her look bad, and that never happens. I rely on her ethics in class every day. She has challenged herself to be a better person, and she is doing it. So congratulations, Brittany Junkert, for being the elementary student of the month.
Yay!
Good job, Brittany.
How about that? That is
Sitting on our lap.
Yeah, because we're supposed to sit there in the cup.
It'll be okay. You get really close. Ready?
I know, but
Feel ready to eat.
6 feet. 6 seconds of peace.
You want to stay here? Get a raise now.
Sitting on our lap.
You don't mind us coming in your class this morning?
We
We wanted to recognize our student of the month.
Oh, wow.
So, Mr. Ariel Dominguez.
Ariel Dominguez, where are you?
Ariel, hi, how are you? Good to see you. I'm Mr. Hopper, and I wanted to let you know that you are the Venus Primary School Student of the Month. That is so cool.
Good job.
Give him a
Everybody say
hand,
good job,
guys.
Ariel.
So, what this says is this: Ariel is absolutely amazing. He is one of my best students, Mrs. Dowdy. So, he is so well behaved and polite, and I never ask him twice to do anything because he always does it the first time. Is that true? Yeah, Ariel's such a good student. He comes every morning ready to see what the day brings. And he is given countless compliments, not only by his teachers, but by other staff members that just adore him. Thank you, Ariel, for being so kind and wonderful. Let's give him a big hand, can we?
Good job, Ariel.
Congratulations, Ariel. I want to give you, I'm going to set this right here, and I want to give you this certificate, and there's your name on it right there. And it says Venus Primary School Student. Thank you, Liz.
Okay, on to item number 5, opportunity for public comment. Has anybody signed up? No, sir. Okay. All right, moving on to item number 6, student growth performance update, presented by Anne Marie Morgan.
Hello, everyone. We're going to take a look at the student outcome goals that we established at the beginning of the year for this year, which were the first 2 of the board goals that we adopted, because we do have the data to show you the end of year results where we are for these 2. So I thought we would just take them a couple at a time. Okay, so the first goal that we have as a district is to increase the number of 3rd graders to score meets or above on the reading STAR test. And so this is a multi-year goal. This is not something we are trying to do this year. And what we're trying to do is get more 3rd graders to actually hit the mark on the STAR test that says they're meeting grade level expectations, not just coming close to it. And so that's the difference between approaches and meets. So we want more 3rd graders hitting that meets range. So this year, if you want to move on, one of the progress measures that we agreed on was to use our MAP growth assessment to see where students are in their reading levels. So you can scroll down. And so our goal was that the average RIT score of 3rd graders would increase by 0.5. Now, at the beginning of the year, we had not done MAP testing before, and so most of us weren't quite sure what kind of growth we could expect to see with that RIT score. And so you can see by the results that we definitely exceeded that growth of 0.5, and the average RIT score increased by 5, which is great because that shows growth. What we probably want to consider for next year, and I'm not saying these are the goals we need to set, just things that we need to talk about for next year, if you want to scroll down, is instead of looking at just the increase in our average RIT score, looking at the difference between our average score compared to the norm average score, because that's going to tell us if our third graders are getting closer to being on grade level on average. And so that'll be a better indicator of how many are going to hit that meets mark on the STAR test. So you can see this year, at the beginning of the year, we were 2.5 points behind the norm average, and at the end of the year, we were 7 points behind. So that's definitely in the wrong direction. We want to see that gap closing, not increasing, but that gives us a better indicator of where our students are as far as grade level expectations. So our second progress measure was that we wanted to look at students in Tier 3 reading to see if they were demonstrating more than 1 year's growth. And so what we discovered here is that at the beginning of year, so on the right with the arrows, the BOY means beginning of year, there were about 44% of our students who were below grade level, and that would be on the far left, the red and the orange columns. And so that meant the 44% of the students were in the 0 to 40th percentile at the beginning of the year. And so what we did see is that students who started there did grow. And so I do have some data from our interventionist at the elementary school who told me that in her third grade group, about 50% of them did meet their individual growth goal. So those students were making their growth in her reading intervention class. And what she said was that about the third grade moved, they started around lesson 20 in their program and were able to advance to lesson 50. So that's incredible movement for those students. What we see in this data, though, is that at the end of the year, we had, instead of a smaller number of students in Tier 3, a greater number, which is telling us that even though we are addressing gaps, we're not accelerating them as fast as we need to get them to stay on grade level. So they may have started off so far below grade level and caught up a little bit, but the average third grader was able to go like that much further ahead. And so this is just showing us next year where we need to be focusing. Yes, sir. Yes. Yes, and so that is definitely true. So the norms were set in 2017 was the last time they normed the test. So, and that came from testing third graders all over the nation. So literally thousands and thousands of third graders who took the test over a 3-year period. And what they looked for was what is the average score of the third graders. And I don't know all of the science behind how you get to norms, but they were looking for what is like the normal thing for a third grader to be able to do. And so that's where they get those scores from. And it's a good indicator. There are all sorts of linking studies that NWEA has done to show that students who score within that grade level range on the MAP test perform at different levels on the STAR test. So we know that students who are in that yellow range are the students who tend to hit that approaches mark, and students who are in the green and the blue are the students who hit that meets mark. So there's definitely correlations between how students do in these percentile rankings and how they do on end of year assessments. And so they've done this study for Texas, linking it to the STAR test. They've also done it for other states with other state tests. So it's not something that only Texas does, and those norms are national norms. And so those, as Mr. Hopper was saying, the last time they did that was 2 or 3 years ago. And so this year, everybody's out of whack. Like most schools are not going to show the growth to those norms as they would have a couple of years ago because of the deficits with COVID. Okay, so for next year, what we probably want to focus on, instead of thinking about can we really get how many, the tier 3 growth accelerating 1 year? We can't really get that from these graphs. We'd have to look at individual students, which we can do. But it makes more sense to look at, are we moving kids out of those bottom 2 tiers into the average? So we want to see on the left, the red and the orange bars going down, because those students are moving into the average, and the yellow and green bars going up. So we want to see the evening out of that bell curve. And so that might be just something to consider next year. And right now we don't have a percentage that I would even say we should look at. We really need to see how our current second graders are doing when as they go into 3rd grade. And then the last growth measure for reading was looking at the top performing students. And so we had said the number of 3rd graders scoring in the top quintile will increase. And so we had 24 students at the beginning of the year who scored in the top quintile, so the top 20%. But at the end of the year, we had 11. And so that is a question mark, like what happened to all of those students? And it's not because they didn't stay as smart as they were at the beginning of the year, and it's not because teachers didn't push them and challenge them. A lot of it has to do with the test itself. It was a new test for all of them. And so that's something that our students are going to become more accustomed to as they take the test. There were a lot of variables affecting the test environment this year. So at the beginning of the year, we had several students took it online. All of them took it in person at the end of the year. And that accounts for some of the difference there, even into 3rd grade. The other things that we need to consider, though, is in the classroom, how are teachers differentiating for those top performing students? So they're growing their year's growth. They're where they were at second graders, they're now where they should be at 3rd graders. But these highest performing students, are we pushing them to accelerate as much as they can? So we want to always be thinking about how much do we expect our students to grow, but how much can they grow? And are we giving them what they need to get there? And so something to think about for next year, instead of are we getting more students into that top quintile, something to think about next year on the next slide would be, is every student who started off in that top quintile achieving their expected growth? And so this year we can see that from that 24 who started, we had about 25% who did meet their expected growth on MAP, and about 75%, I don't think those numbers added up correctly, but you can see the red is no, they didn't. The blue is yes, they did. And so what the MAP test is doing is saying, based on where they started, based on their percentile and their RIT score, a student performing at this caliber, you could expect them to grow so many RIT points. And that's what we want to focus on next year for those kids, that we're really pushing them to achieve everything that they can achieve. And then what we're going to see is the same outcomes for math, but different numbers. So our goal for math was also to increase the number of 3rd graders scoring meets or above on the math test. And as of right now, those numbers are, those percentages, we'll have to wait and see how our students did on the STAR test this year to see how we want to adjust those. But our progress measures were the same for math as they were for reading. So our average RIT score of 3rd graders increased by 10, which is really outstanding, because math, we knew at the beginning of the year, was going to be a huge struggle this year. Students tended to perform less well in math than they did in reading. So this is really exciting to see that much growth. Same concern, though, we definitely want to see that the gap between our average RIT score and the norm average RIT score decrease, and then we want to see our students eventually outperforming the average norm. And so for math, we were 2 points behind the average at the end of the year. Sorry, we grew 2 points. You see what I'm saying? Thank you. So it's definitely something that we want to continue working towards. And then the next slide, we can look at the tier 3 students. So again, we see that same situation, and oddly enough, the numbers were actually the same, and I double checked those twice. So we had about 44% of students who started off below grade level at the beginning of the year and ended with 54%. The numbers in each column were slightly different than reading, but those totals added up. So that was weird. But same thing, we want to see students moving out of those bottom 2 quintiles into that yellow column. And so even as the content gets more difficult, we need to be catching them up with where they were lacking from 1st and 2nd grade, but keeping pace with what's happening in 3rd grade. And that is some of the trouble that those students were facing for reading and math, why you see those numbers happening that way. And then the last piece of it was also for that top quintile. So we had 11 students who started the year in the top quintile and 11 who finished. And so that's more than likely the same 11 students. But again, we want to focus on, did those individual students meet their expected growth? Are they getting everything they need in math? Are we pushing them as high as they can go? Because even thinking about 3rd grade, those top math performers, we want to be thinking long range. Those are the students who are going to take Algebra 1 as 8th graders, and that could potentially take calculus as seniors. And so we definitely want to be looking at how they're doing in math even as 3rd and 4th graders. And then, so again, next year we want to look at their individual expected growth. In math, our math interventionist did report that she had 8 out of 19 3rd graders who met or exceeded their individual goal, so that's great. And 8 of the 11 who did not meet were just 3 points shy, so they were very close to meeting their growth. So that's 16 out of 19 who were very close or met their growth goals. And we did have 3 who improved from winter to spring, so they're definitely seeing growth within their classroom. So what the tiers are telling us, the quintiles are telling us, is if those students who started off in tier 3 are growing, what about the students who weren't being served? Are we filling in their gaps and pulling them up at the same time? Does anyone have any questions for me? Okay, thank you.
Okay, so we're going on to item number 7, the consent agenda. Is there anything on the consent agenda anybody wants to maybe pull out and discuss more? If not, I'd like to make a motion.
I make a motion that we accept the consent agenda as presented.
Okay, got a motion by Greg,
Second.
second by Gerald. All in favor? All motion passes. Okay, 6-0. Okay, we're going down to on item number 8. We're going to table that for another meeting.
I make a motion that we table to consider approval of custodial service agreement.
Okay, got a second?
I'll second it.
Got a second by Les. Okay. All in favor? Motion passes. Okay. All right. Okay, go on to item number 9. Consider approval of yearly device purchases for distribution to incoming VHS 9th grade students, presented by Mr. Hopper and Daniel Domain.
Daniel?
Okay, so every year we, as you all know, that we purchase a new set of Chromebooks to distribute to our 9th graders. And that time of year has come along again. We did our RFP just a little bit different this time. We put it out on Byboard. And I had 4 people, 4 companies respond to that RFP. After putting it through this rubric, I don't know if y'all can see that real well. I'm having trouble seeing it, I think. Yeah, that would be great. Thank you. So I added end of life score because we want to make sure that we're getting the best bang for our buck on those devices. So I added end of life score, gave it a 20 points. All said and done, CDW actually came out the best. I actually just got an updated quote today from STS. that it's the same Lenovo, but it's a later model of that 300E, but it expires in 2029. We've had a little bit of an issue with Lenovo's in the past. We've had really, really good results with Acers. So my recommendation is still for CDWG, and besides the ones that came from STS, bump that up to 115,000. So my recommendation would be to go with CDWG for the purchase of our 9th grade Chromebooks. Anybody have any questions? Oh, yes, 235. What we usually do is we take the amount of students that are in 8th grade and we add 15% on there for growth and spares. So that comes up to around 235 devices. Mm-hmm. 109,514.70. It's a 4-year accidental damage warranty. So there's a 1-year manufacturer's warranty, and then an extra 3 years from CDW. But all 4 years include accidental damage. So if a student accidentally drops it and breaks a screen, we send it back, they repair it, and send it back to us. No charge.
One of the things I might point out on that, Daniel, if I could, and you could probably elaborate on this better than I could, but he mentioned the end-of-life score. These things are being made more durable than they used to be. They're actually lasting longer. In the past, we distribute these to 9th graders, and then after 4 years, they were pretty much ready to be handed off. Mm-hmm. But these machines are lasting a lot longer than they have been in the past, because he and I talked about all the devices we bought this year and being able to have planned obsolescence so that they don't time out at the same point here, in a few years. But bottom line is, good news is they are lasting longer. Another topic for another day, but right. These things will be with us for a while.
Right, and that's why the Google licensing has actually increased, because Google's demanding of all the manufacturers that they make them a little bit better, and so the Google end of life, that's actually driven by Google proper. So the Google Corporation is driving that demand for end of life. So their license actually went up to include up to 8 years on some devices.
Are we still giving those to the seniors as they graduate, or are we keeping them now?
You want to get into that right now? Okay, so we have been. The ones that are our seniors have right now we have not had really good luck with, and they're going to be, those are leaving. The oldest ones that or the ones that go out sooner than any one of the others that we have are the ones that the juniors have. Those are the oldest Dells that we have. And they expire in June of 2022. What that means, when I say expire, what that means is that Google will no longer push updates to that model. So that model will not be able to handle any more updates after June of 2022. So once June 2022 gets here, that thing will be obsolete for us. So my recommendation would be that we stop doing that at the end of next year, at the end of 22.
So we are doing it, though.
We are doing it,
But we're thinking about
but I would recommend stopping, because my thought would be, if we're buying something that's going to last till 2029, I would say, or 2028, I would say, give it to 9th graders, let them take it through high school, take those back down and give them to 5th graders or 6th graders and let them use them through 8th grade, and then by that time they're ready to be e-recycled.
Yeah, I would agree.
Mm-hmm.
I will make a motion that we purchase 6 computers as presented. By Mr. Domingue.
Okay, we got a motion by Greg. I got a second? A second by Gerald. All in favor? Motion passes.
Mr. President,
Who are we?
can I remind everybody, please turn on your microphone if you need to speak, because they can't hear us online.
Who are we purchasing these from? CDWG?
Thank you. All right, moving on to item number 10, consider approval of out-of-state band trip during the 2021-2022 school year. Presenting is Mr. Hopper. Okay,
You see the, why don't we just scroll through this, if you would, Liz? I'm not gonna read each one of these bullets. You guys have seen this in the package, but I did wanna read the first one. Just kidding. It's, band is going to go to Orlando, Florida. I've told you a little bit about it in our, not the second one. Thank you, Liz. So they'll be staying at there in Orlando. One of the highlights of this trip is that they'll actually go to and play at a clinic. And so they'll have a chance to work with some of the Disney professionals who will give them a little clinic. So that's going to be great for them. It's a workshop, actually, the Universal Stars workshop program. They will, of course, be at the park, and we're let's see, just kind of hit the high spots. Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Itinerary, you can see that on Thursday he's got a pretty detailed itinerary as far as when they're leaving and what they're doing. So we have Thursday, we have Friday, and it's got that very well mapped out. So Saturday, breakfast at the hotel, depart Disney, and then on Sunday, then that's when I think we're heading back on Sunday, aren't we? Enjoy your, let's see, go to the next one.
Sunday.
Yeah, here we go. Educational purpose. So if you hit that, if you've gone to that website there, or hit that link, it kind of tells you a little bit more about the opportunity that our kids are going to have there at Universal Workshop, working with those people. So it looks like a pretty exciting time, all in all. So I didn't know if y'all had any questions about that at all. So students do not pay for transportation. Fundraiser is going to pay for that. Has a list of the cost, how do I pay, and then it goes into the details there. Students will make payments through Troubadour Consultants, not to the band director. Talks about the different fundraisers that he's going to use to actually help fund the trip. And then there's their payment plan, so it's very well laid out all the way through.
Thank you.
Now, will everybody that wants to go be able to afford that?
What we want to do is make sure that we provide that, and so they have ample opportunity, of course, through the fundraisers. But we want to make sure that we help out in any way for anybody that needs it.
How many are we talking about going?
Oh gosh, what was his number, Liz? I mean, we want to take the whole band. No, we really don't want to leave any kids behind. So invariably, there are a few that sometimes can't make it for whatever reason, but we're looking to take the whole band. High school band.
Well, I make a motion that we approve the out-of-state band trip during the 2021-2022 school year.
Okay, got a motion by
Second it.
Tasha and
I'll second it.
second by Les. All in favor? Motion passes. Thank you. All right, on to item number 11. Consider approval of modifications to COVID-19 mitigation procedures. On this one, Mr. Hopper, you want to just touch on this just a bit?
Yeah, one of the things that we've seen over the past several weeks is we've seen our statistics dramatically decrease as far as our active cases of COVID-19. We've also recently done a staff survey that indicated that, and it was a few weeks ago when we did our staff survey, we got about 30% of our staff that were interested in maintaining masks, whereas earlier in the semester we had about that those statistics were pretty much flipped. So the majority of our staff would like to see the masks actually come off, and we've got about 10% that are undecided. Recently, we held a vaccination clinic here for people to come by and get vaccines, and we actually broadcast this not only, of course, to our staff but to the whole community. And you know, we had the potential of giving out 500 vaccines, and 31 people came. So that's what we had. And so we feel like, as far as the vaccinations are concerned, that we've pretty well saturated that market. The people that want them pretty much have those. At our last survey, we had 15% of our staff still yet that wanted a vaccine that had not yet gotten their first one. That's been several weeks ago at this point. So pretty much we've reached all of that market. Ever since spring break, our numbers of COVID positive cases have gone down dramatically. We do currently have 5 cases as of today, district-wide. And as early as a week ago today, we had 0 cases. So we fluctuate anywhere between 0 and probably 5 at the most for the past several weeks. So that's kind of where we are on this. One of my big concerns going forward is with our students, their peer-to-peer interaction, just being able to see each other's smiling face, and also receiving instruction from their teachers and getting that sort of interaction. So at this point, I would firmly be in favor of making masking optional on our campuses.
Well, could I add, you know, I asked to have this put on the agenda at the last board meeting, and since then, just going with his information, Governor Abbott put on, I guess it's Facebook, but social media, that yesterday there were 0 deaths in the state of Texas from COVID. First time since March of 2020. Said that the numbers reported were the lowest. I do know that Godly's last board meeting was just before ours, I guess a week before. They instituted mask optional starting today. So they came back to school on Monday, optional masks. And Midlothian passed something similar. But I think it was instituted to start summer. So I'm in agreement with this. And based on the numbers outside the district and based where the districts are going, I just assume be a leader as a follower. And I think it's better to start now at the end of the year than starting at the beginning of the year, have a new outbreak or something start, and then blame us for changing it. You know, let's change it now. It starts that way. We can always change it if the world requires it. But I'm all for unmasking. I don't know anybody that's for having these masks right now. And not to say I know everybody, but I don't know anybody that wants them.
Might I say also that that we would continue to check temperatures and continue to use the foggers in the classroom, and encourage hand washing and have the hand sanitizer and all of that. And any student that wanted to wear a mask, of course, we would be able to do that, and also our staff. And also, we've been very conservative throughout this measure, and I think that shows the board's high concern for our staff as well as for our students. And so in doing so, when we talked about this, we said, well, when there's a compelling reason to do so, then that's something that we would entertain. And I believe, given the numbers that we currently have, that's a pretty compelling reason. Again, I want to applaud the board for being very, very conservative and taking care of our students and our staff throughout this.
I think you touched on some of the concerns. Like, we're still going to continue to do some of the quarantine mitigation. That's still not going to change, and that's fine. I know that you kind of touched on that, so I think that's still a good thing that we're going to still try to mitigate some of that in this process.
I, if you don't mind, I think that's good too, but I think I would even consider some of that because we have quarantined so many kids that miss days of school and them not have it or get it just because they were close to somebody. You know, I lived in the house, my wife was quarantined 2 weeks as a teacher. My son and I lived there with her for 2 weeks. Neither one got it. I'm not saying that's the norm or the abnormal. I'm just saying you can't predict it. And I think if we're keeping kids out of school, then we're probably hurting them more than we're helping. I don't want someone with COVID coming into school knowing they have it and purposely spreading it.
Yep.
If there's a way to limit that through, if we still answer the questionnaire or whatever, checking temperatures like you said, I'm good with that. But I would limit it as much as we could
Yes, sir.
safely. And I personally believe that we should never quit sanitizing, even after COVID, because if it eliminates 20 cases of flu, your ADA goes up just on that.
Well, you know, that's a good point to make, Greg. We've had we've virtually eliminated flu and a whole lot of colds and a lot of other things that are contagions throughout the year. And just to clarify on the quarantines, one of the things that we've done the math on that as well. We've quarantined, and I wish I had the total here in front of me tonight. We've quarantined, I think officially the total is a boatload of students, and we have fewer than 5 that have actually come back of those students who were quarantined who actually came back COVID positive. So given those numbers, what I'd like to do with the quarantine is basically, if it's now, I'm not talking about a COVID positive student, that student does need to be quarantined. But a close contact student, we would contact the parents then and leave that up to the parent as to whether they want to keep that student at home or send them to school. Based on the numbers that we've quarantined and those that have come back positive, it's absolutely minuscule. So, so I think we ought to leave that up to the parents for the close contact.
I believe that's pretty close to what the other 2 districts did this week in our area, Godley and Midlothian. It was to inform, and it was left up to those folks to quarantine or not if they chose to, knowing the information. I believe that's how they did it.
Right. And I'm not sure about what they're doing, but I will say this, that, you know, again, we've been very conservative in our efforts this year, and not knowing what this thing was when it first came out. I mean, my goodness, you had to make decisions on the fly. So you go as conservative as you can, and then you back off as you can. And so, yeah, I think it's time to probably modify.
Okay, couple of questions. This also applies to transportation. No mask required on buses.
Yes, sir. And the reason is most of our bus drivers are actually vaccinated.
Okay, and the other thing, if this does pass tonight, what is the procedure of getting this out to the public so that the upcoming activities for this week, graduation and everything, that the public will know where the school stands?
We've actually got this ready to go out, you know, pending a board decision tonight. It's actually ready to go out on our Facebook and our website.
Thank you.
I make a motion to consider the modification of the COVID-19 mitigation procedures.
Got a motion by Gerald, second by Greg. All in favor? Motion passes. Okay. Thank you. All right, going on to item number 12, executive session. We're going to go into executive session for 551.072, 551.074, 551.076. And if I've left anyone out, and, no, that's under, yeah, I got it. And we're gonna go into executive session at 7:45. going to reconvene from executive session at 8:48. Okay, we go to item number 14, consider approval of revisions to policy DC local.
I make a motion that we approve the revision to policy DC local.
Okay, got a motion by Tasha, second by Les. All in favor? Motion passes. Okay. Item number 15, consider approval of granting the superintendent authority to hire contract personnel from June 1st, 2021 through August 31st, 2021. You gotta make a motion. Les. Jay, a second. All in favor? Motion passes. Okay. Item number 16, consider approval of additional positions for 2021 through 2022 school year. You want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to consider the approval of the additional positions for 2021 to 2022 school year.
Okay, got a motion by Jay. Anybody want a second?
I'll second.
Tasha will second. All in favor? Motion passes. Item number 17, consider approval of hiring temporary summer workers for the technology and maintenance department. Would you like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion.
A motion by Joe, sorry. Anybody want a second? Second by Jay. All in favor? Motion passes. On number 18, consider approval of matters related to personnel, resignations, employment positions. Is that right?
I'll make a motion to approve matters related to personnel resignations, employment, and position.
Got a motion by Tasha, a second?
Second.
And a second by Jay. All in favor? Motion passes. Number 19, reports. Superintendent report.
So, one of the things I wanted to do tonight, so the typical report was present this award for this commendation to the board superintendent team from the State Board of Education, awarded to Venus ISD for receipt of at least 8 hours of continuing education at a team building session for 2021. This was awarded 16th day of April 2021. Again, that's from the State Board of Education. So congratulations, team. There we go. Good job.
Okay. Assistant Superintendent, you have anything?
This past Saturday, we hosted our FFA banquet. The officers came up with a very
This past Saturday, we hosted our FFA banquet. The officer team came together and suggested this idea, and I'm like, hey, great. They wanted to have it at the ag feeding facility. So they went out there and they cleaned and they picked up, and you can ask Mr. Hopper, you couldn't smell there had been an animal ever in the barn, and decorated up great. Families brought their chairs. The kids did a fantastic job in their presentations. It was a very laid-back atmosphere. We had probably 50 to 60 folks out there, and had hamburgers, hot dogs, and potluck sides, and so it was a really good situation for our kids for the FFA banquet. So very likely might do that again.
Chief Financial Officer, you have anything?
She actually starts in June.
Oh, okay, yeah.
I did work with Michelle on the board reports, so I lightly got my hands in that with her.
Okay.
If you have any questions, I'm sorry. So if you have any questions, just let me know, and I can try to get with her and answer those questions. But it was pretty straightforward from what I've gotten in the reports.
Anybody have any questions or?
I will tell you that right now we're working feverishly on the budget, especially Megan and Rhonda are working. Today we had a meeting, a virtual meeting with Michelle, and so that's something that we're just in the middle of right now, looking at revenues, looking at potential expenditures, and starting to get down to the nitty-gritty of what's going to survive and what's not in the budget. So we had a couple of hours of that today, didn't we? Yeah, so doing a lot of good work.
Is there any other reports that may have any questions on, or athletics?
A week ago, this past Monday, we had our athletic booster banquet. Shout out to the Booster Club. We it was one of our first opportunities to come together as a group. We had a great turnout, and it was a relaxed atmosphere. Just had snacks and water, and was able to finally recognize our kids for their hard work and determination through the athletic part of it. As many of you probably already know, our Lady Bulldogs season came to an end. They had a great run, but fell short this last series to Van Alstyne. So congratulations goes out to them for a great season.
Thank you. You have anything for bilingual ESL or nothing? Okay. Child care, child nutrition, nothing. Anything on maintenance? Okay. Transportation or technology, anything?
One thing on technology, it wasn't in the report, but there was a proposal to do fiber optic to the ag barn. Where is that?
Oh.
Is Mr. Domains here?
I'm still here. Yes. Can I use your mic?
Yes.
That PO was turned in, and I'm waiting for the people that are going to do it to get back to me. That's NextLink, and that'll go from the IDF closet at Primary out to the ag barn, and once that's done, we'll be able to run wires out, run cable out there, and hook everything up. Get cameras put up.
We shouldn't have any trouble getting that done well before fall, should we?
No, I don't think so at all. Not at all.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
Anybody have any questions for Chief Wood? And anything to add on your reports?
Not unless you have any questions on it.
Okay.
It's been a busy month.
Okay. All right. If nobody else has anything on reports, go to item number 20. Anybody have anything that they want to add for next scheduled meeting?
I have a request.
Okay.
Can we get Diet Cokes to the Diet Dr. Pepper?
Diet Coke, let me write that down. Diet Coke, yeah.
Thought we were boycotting Coke.
That's funny.
Do what?
Nothing.
I don't see you write it down, I don't see him write it
Yeah.
down.
Actually, I don't
There-
know that we can.
Yeah.
We got a Dr. Pepper
Yeah.
exclusive.
They bring us those drinks and machines,
I'm good with water. I knew.
but I'll bet I can smuggle you one in.
I bet we can
I-
do one. We'll get you taken care of this.
Okay.
I do want to bring up one thing. It was just, we've got, as you know, we're not going to be able to attend SLI here in June. Now, it was, I guess the question came up is whether or not all of us want to try to at least do it remotely, or do we want to wait and maybe attend maybe in the fall to get some training hours, or?
I would love to attend something, and the school board convention has all the same hours plus all the new products. I think I'd rather go there myself.
Okay, so I just need to kind of give Liz a direction on where
That's
we,
how I would like it.
if we all kind of would be in favor of holding off on you know,
And hopefully by then it'll be.
for the fall, going to Dallas and getting some of our training in there. Or we can also do some training here, you know, in the
I agree
summertime.
there. I'd
Okay.
rather do TASB convention.
Okay.
That typically is the last,
That's typically the last weekend of September, is that right?
it's 24th through the 26th.
So, and it's in Dallas this year.
Well, if we did remotely SLI, how and when and what course it is and
So you're interested in remote SLI?
if somebody could tell me,
We'll
give
get
me
you
answer
the,
to those questions.
okay.
I might very well be.
You don't know enough yet about it. Okay.
I do not.
We'll get some answers.
I did get a email today that describes some of the virtual SLI. You can do it anywhere, you know, from your home, from here, whatever. They do have the different breakout sessions. I don't know exactly how they'll track their way through that. They're gonna do some watch parties. Some big districts are gonna host a watch party. The closest one to us would be Waco. And you would just go to the Waco boardroom and watch it online. So those are the new things I learned today.
I could do it from my house then.
Yes, sir.
I was just gonna tell you, when I did the online back for the fall one, I did that for the TASB. I did, like I said, it was all remote, so it was kind of convenient. Actually, you watch the courses just the same as you were present, you know, but you watch them till the very end, and same thing. You get your number for the class, and you know, I mean, you can kind of do it almost at your own pace. I mean, unless they kind of change it up, but it was kind of convenient in a way for just to be able to do it online.
I don't know if it makes a difference to anybody, but the cost to do it at home virtually is the same as the cost to attend in person.
Wow, that's crazy.
Would you still like some information, Les?
Yes, please.
Okay.
Okay, we're gonna go to item 21, adjournment. And we're gonna adjourn this meeting at 9:01.